as I was walking, some beautiful revelations hit me. One was that solution already exists. I was thinking about that one day when I was having a conversation with this guy from France, and the entire conversation with him was about the bed at the end of the night, And I'm like, oh my God, look at this, and, the bed. And I thought, the amazing thing is that the bed already exists. Solution already exists. That which we desire has already been created. But you and I will never experience that unless we are a like mind to it, unless consciousness meets consciousness. So, for example, those of you who are longing for this intimate relationship, your soulmate, I say to you, that person already exists. It's not like they have to be born. And that's kind of creepy, right? They already exist. They're already here. They're already breathing. They're already walking the planet. But unless we're an energetic match to that, unless our consciousness is such that we can actually accept and see them, then it's like the ships passing in the night. That perfect job already exists. That perfect home already exists. And so it simply becomes our job, our mission, to inwardly know that and to relax. And to be in the present moment of the now. And to have everything that moves and breathes and has our being in that place of solution. Because you see, we can't experience that perfect job if all we're talking about is how nobody's hiring, or how I'm too old, or how it doesn't matter what I do, ... You're not going to see it. That's a part of our spiritual practice. That's why we're here. That's what everything that has led us to this moment right now where you're sitting is about, to reawaken that truth inside of us. The other thing that I realized as I was walking was that Columbus didn't discover America. America already existed. The landmass that we call America already existed. What did Columbus do? He got in a boat. Are you willing to get in a boat? Are you willing to set sail towards that which already exists? Do you see the freedom in that? Do you see the juiciness in that? None of this stuff has to be so hard. What we realize is that we're already taken care of, just as that pew is sitting there doing its job, and you're not thinking about it. So is your supply. So is your connectedness to God. I remember Eric Butterworth using a quote in Spiritual Economics that said something like, it's not your job to monitor what happens in the Wall Street Journal or what's on the news or what's in any of the economic broadcasts. It's your job with what you do with that information. It's your job and how you receive it and how you respond. Do you respond from a place of, oh my God? Or do you respond from a place of solution? And I understand that for many of us, we did not grow up in an environment that practiced this on a daily basis. I was born and raised in Beaumont, Texas, and my mother was widowed when I was 7 years old. And what I continually observed about her was this thing that would happen at the end of the month. It was like a dark cloud settled over. And she would wring her hands, and her mantra was always, we're going to wind up on the street. We're going to wind up on the street. We're going to wind up on the street. And so I thought that that's what you did. Through observation, And I could tell you story after story after story about how that unlearning took place for me. But eventually the unlearning took place through practice, through collecting more pots and bringing them to the table of consciousness. And the same holds true for you. What are you willing? What are you willing to focus on? What is consciousness really? Have you ever really thought about that? Consciousness is really what you and I dwell upon the most. Some people use the word chronic, and I like that word because I think we associate the word chronic with like horrible things. But think about being chronically happy, or chronically joyous, or chronically in tune with God, with Spirit. That's consciousness. What you are dedicated to. I often tell my people that I can tell what's going on with a person. I can tell what they're dedicated to simply by what's happening in their life. It's not a judgment. It's simply spiritual law. What we're dedicated to in thought, in mind, transpires into our physical world. And the beautiful part about that is if we don't like something, if we don't care for something, we simply change that idea. That's all. And all of us are doing that perpetually, all the time. As I arrived in Santiago, day 34, hundreds of stories in between day 1 and day 34. But as I arrived in Santiago, and as I moved into that town, and I finally rounded the curve, and I saw the spiral of the cathedral, and I started to weep because I realized that we are in control. Whatever we tell ourselves that we can do, we can do. Whatever we believe in and thought, we can master. That's the gift that has been given us. That's free will. And the fact that I did that I finished. And it's a custom for all of the pilgrims when they get to the plaza of Santiago de Compostela, they take their pack off and they lay it down on the ground, and you lay down on the ground and you look up at the cathedral from a different perspective. Because it's an indicator that perhaps because of this adventure, you are now willing to see the world differently. Are you willing to see your world differently today? Are you willing to accept just be willing to accept the idea that solution already exists, that our freedom is already here? It's here. Source, substance, and supply. We can never be without that.